Okay, we should be live. Yep, I see we're live. I can't. No, that's mine. Can't make it go any louder. It's apparently super loud. It's going into the red bar of the thing. Someone says, "Is the audio fixed or not?" I think I got everyone at max. Yeah, the only people I didn't have on max are the people uh, I don't really talk to you on a usual basis. What? Everything's at max. Who was that? I heard a voice. There's not much else I can do. I've got everyone maxed out on Discord, and I've got everyone else maxed out on Streamlabs. Oh, is it that bug? Oh, great. Well, on some streams we've had people uh, where we couldn't actually hear anybody. There was like one person isolated that had no audio whatsoever. Or, I don't know, sometimes this happens. And I don't know why. Like on that stream with Sienna, I think you you were the chosen one next to be muted, or somebody was at a certain point. I wonder why that would be any different. Shall we stop using Streamlabs and use something else? I don't know. What's this? Good question. I don't know, I haven't been on the stream for a while. Well, you two sound quite loud to me. Well, and Nex, actually. So Megan, Nex, and Tim, you all sound fine. I can hear them a little better. Haven't done anything. uh,
Yeah, compared to Keith, which is coming through very clear, everybody else is very quiet.
I could just turn myself down. Is that better? No, I'm quiet too. Yay! Wait, why can't I find our stream? Oh, here it is. Well, this is how everyone's coming through. I'm just going to put the image in the chat.
And you say that you're
Yes.
turning yourself down, right?
Yeah, I've turned myself down.
Well, you sound exactly the same level.
Maybe they get me mixed up with
It's
Nex.
amazing that you're not changing anything.
Is oh, well, global settings, disable Windows audio ducking. What's that? I'll click it.
Didn't seem to change anything.
Okay, didn't do anything. Hmm. Maybe there's a button that says save.
It's very strange that no matter what you do, Keith, the audio is exactly the same.
How about now? I've turned myself down really low. Super low.
Do that now. I put it in the wrong place. Shit. Not allowed to be. I'll install that and reinstall it later. No, don't do that.
Okay, try talking, everyone.
Hello. It
Hi
is
there.
I, Leclerc. That's a joke. You're
Hello.
going to date me?
I can.
Anyone get that?
I don't know.
So, stream, let us know if you heard anything. Oh, audio ducking is when PC sound
Yeah.
gets quieter as you talk. Oh, that's interesting.
I think that only works for you, though, not everyone else.
Yeah, well, I can shut you all up. I'll disable.
There seems,
I think I hear other people know on the stream.
yeah, it's gotten better,
Okay. Cool.
and now you're really quiet, Keith. You're the one that's quiet now.
Wah wah.
Okay, I put myself up to max. That should be betterer.
Betterer. Much more betterer.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do?
Good grammar is important, but ice cream is betterer. Or importanter,
Oh, excellent. Everyone can hear us now. Hooray.
or whatever the joke is.
Happy days are here again.
Now you're
so
really.
that you're here.
You're the one that's quiet now.
Alright, let's get this started.
Okay,
Let's
I'll
start
put
it.
Oh,
Man, you
dear,
gotta lower
oh,
the
dear.
volume on everybody, though. Everybody's, like, peeking.
Someone who needs to put themselves on push to talk because they're coming and pick up all the audio. Okie well, if everyone can hear us. Hello, everyone. You all had a good Canada Day? Looking forward to 4th
Happy
of July and
Canada
all that.
Day to our neighbors in Canada.
The Canadians.
I hope they're all done, Perito. Yes. Touch wood. Okay. Keith, do you want to switch yourself back over off the standby screen?
Well, it's not as if I've got much going on at the moment. Ta-da! Wait, can I draw a little
Right.
John Travolta going?
Okay, let's see if we can actually get this started now. Okay, a little bit of house cleaning first for you guys. I need to make an apology. First of all, I'm Nex. I'm one of the random dogs bodies for season 3. I basically help out doing, random graphic bits when the team need it. And I may have clickbaited a lot of people by mistake. While I was making the advert for the stream, I just went full graphics brain mode and thought, ooh, team sounds like stream. Stream season 3. That sounds cool. And then everyone thought, oh, the episode's ready. It's not. I'm really sorry about that.
Lol.
Hands up, that's on me. I clickbaited all of you. Sorry. Please don't kill. Please no bully.
That's fun.
Anyway, for this stream, guys, we're doing something a little bit special for you. I have no idea what you've drawn there, Keith, but it looks fantastic.
Oh, it's supposed to be John Travolta. You know, that
Shrugging.
that meme.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he's around going,
Oh yeah, I get it now.
there's nothing
I was just trying to
here.
work out what it was. I saw someone shrugging. I was trying to work out who the head was. So yeah, basically what we're going to do is we're going to be going over what it takes to put an episode of season 3 together, so you guys can understand what it's like from start to finish. All the processes that go involved, what everyone on the team does. We would have liked to have everyone here, including the writers, storyboard artists, and whatnot, but sadly some people can't be. But we have got the voice actor of Sonic himself here, Mr. Larry. Let's say hi.
Hello, hello.
We have got Mr. Tim, the wonderful art director and concept artist for season 3.
Hello, guys.
We have got the ever glorious and wonderful Keith, the animation director and principal animator, I suppose.
Supervisor, I guess.
You're the one making it work. Shut up.
Oh, well. Hello.
We
lovelies.
have. He's lovely, isn't he? We have got Mr. Chief himself, the producer / director / bloke making this all happen. I don't know
Hey
what
guys, Paul here.
He will say hi. Excellent. And we have the ever effervescent and wonderful Megan, our socials manager and general administrator, who makes sure that we're actually doing our jobs. She's not going to say hi. She's hiding in the background. Actually, she's hiding in the chat among you. So,
I
yeah.
heard something. There was a something.
The little squeak. She said hi, bless her. So yeah, the plan is to basically get everyone.
You didn't forget anyone.
Oh God,
missing
I'm so
anyone?
sorry.
Jesus,
I am
man.
so sorry. I am terrible at my job. Yes, we also have
No problem.
we have one of the absolute superstars of creating the actual world of Sea3on. We have one of the background painters with us today. We have Carlos.
Hello, everyone.
I am so
See,
sorry to forget you, Carlos. It's the
No
plight of
problem, no
background
problem.
artists. It's the plight of background artists. When they're doing their job well, everyone forgets that
Yes.
they exist.
The background artists are the drummers of the band. They are on the back. No one remembered them.
That's it. It's like if you've done your job perfectly, everything seamlessly flows together, so people just forget that they've been looking at this wonderfully created and crafted world.
I don't know. The backgrounds on this season 3 are pretty outstanding and really catch people's eyes.
So much so they made me want to become a background painter.
Yeah,
So there you go. You all inspired me.
you're like it's like the Tech on Concrete of the animation
Oh,
world.
I want to get my hand on that book. Most people won't know what you're on about, but yes. Funny enough, actually, Keith, the animation book, background book I've got recently actually has a tiny amount of tech concrete in there. It's not the full thing, but a few snippets of it.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, getting off topic. What we have planned for today, guys, is we're going to be on for about an hour and a half, and we're going to give each member of the production a chance to have a little chat with you, explain what they do, and then take a few questions. So, background book I've got recently. Oh, I can hear myself. So we're going to start off with Mr. Chief, seeing as how he is the guy who made this mess happen. So it's your mess. You clear it up, Chief. Do you want to tell the folks what it is that you do?
Oh, basically, I just overrun and supervise everyone on the team, and most part of it, I just listen to what they're telling me what has to be done. Like when it comes to Keith, like obviously he's my supervisor for animation. He pretty much tells me this and this has to be done, and I make sure that it gets done. That's my goal, anyways. Overall production, business side of it, I'm starting to deal with a lot more as we're starting to talk to like say Ron Myrick and other people who are sort of higher up there. That's kind of the area that I've been dealing with mostly for the last little while. Just meetings, have my cell phone on me constantly, and just making sure everything's flowing smoothly. That's pretty much my job, is to keep the whole thing kind of flowing smoothly.
So you mentioned Ron Myrick there. For the folks in the chat who don't know who Ron is, shame on you. But do you want to tell them who Ron is?
Yeah, so Ron, he was the what am I thinking here? He was the
Showrunner,
producer.
executive producer.
Yeah, he was the showrunner, producer, and all that stuff for the second season of season 3, and he is basically signed on with us to be our showrunner, producer for our season 2. Sorry, but he was our showrunner, producer for season 3.
Well, we're kind of showrunners this time, right? I guess. In a
Yeah.
way.
Well, we are, 'cause we're setting it all up, although he has given us some advice and notes and all that stuff. Together with him and another few people who've sort of been helping us out high up, we've got Mark and we've got Lee, and Lee Gaither. He is the he's done a lot of stuff from Sonic Saturday AM to King of the Hill to he has quite an impressive resume. Anyways, they're all helping us all out.
He helps set up new broadcasting channels and streaming services, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
nowadays.
that's kind of his job. He's like the executive of who does all that stuff. So, between him, Ron, and a few others, it's been going good. Really good, actually. But yeah, so my job is pretty much just to make sure everything is clicking along smoothly, and that's about that.
For folks here who also don't know, do you want to give them a little bit of just a tiny bit of history as to how you got everything up and running in the first place? Because you were essentially the linchpin behind getting season 3 transitioned from just a comic into an actual animated series.
Yeah, that was basically, we tried this once before, and it was me and a few guys, and we just talked about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did an animation? And none of us knew any idea of what we were actually doing at all. So we tried it, didn't work out, and we just pretty much left it at that. It was years later, back in, I don't know, I think it was 2018, where the conversation was kind of brought up again of, hey, do you want to try doing this again? And it was kind of, yes and no. I mean, we got to find the right people and figure out what we're actually doing. Huge learning curve for me. And luckily, around this time around, I approached Tim, and Tim said, yeah, let's give it a go. And we just slowly started finding people that actually knew what they were doing, and they were people in the industry. Like when Keith came on, he was just going to help us out with a few things. Then he stuck around. Gloria was a big find, and a few others. So we started learning more. And the more we got going, the more people actually wanted to jump in and help out, including people who were actually in the industry, like big in the industry, and they liked what we were doing. So yeah, that's kind of how it started off. Just going like, do we do this again? It would be awesome if we could do it, but I didn't want to do anything cheesy or crappy. If I couldn't be done properly, I was going to pull the plug. I wouldn't do it at all. I don't want some junk animation. I don't want anything junk plot. It was either going to be done properly the first time, or we're just not going to do it. Which is why I pulled the plug the first time we tried this back in like 2013, because we just didn't have the proper way to do it. This time around, we did. So, yeah, that's kind of a brief history on all that.
Just to slide in there, Chief. Keith, the screen has reverted back to the standby screen.
Yeah, because it's much more interesting than my John Travolta.
Oh, I thought you were actually going to work on a scene while in the background.
I
but
was,
yeah, we
I
can
was,
do.
but the scene I had is disappeared, and I'm trying to look for it.
Oh, that's okay. So yes, there'll be something more interesting to watch in a minute, guys. It's just Keith trying to find it, because we're total professionals over here and totally don't lose scenes all the time. So back to you, Keith. Not Keith. I don't want to talk to you yet. Back to you, Chief. Back to you, Chief. Yeah, how did you go about contacting people like Keith and Gloria in the first place? Were they recommended to you, or did you, scour looking portfolios and whatnot and be like, I want that guy, he's good, he does the things?
Well, Tim found Gloria. I'm not sure how he came across her, to be honest, but he contacted her. Keith
We could ask him.
contacted us. Yeah, Tim.
I was following her on Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah, following her on Instagram, and I loved her work and seeing her. And I don't know how I came across knowing that she had a fan of Sonic, but just an inkling of mine. I think that she would be the right one for this job from everything I've been seeing from her. So I just contacted her on Instagram.
If you saw her Cerivia stuff, I could understand why her Cerivia work has this kind of, 90s cartoon Saturday morning vibe to it. So I could understand if you look at that.
Does. Yeah.
It's like you look at her Cerivia work and be like, I get the vibe you probably like Sonic from this.
I guess you could glean that, yeah.
How did you find Keith then, Chief?
He contacted us.
Ah, well, that's a question I'll have to ask Keith then. Keith,
Yeah.
How did you find out about Season 3?
I saw one of the many articles that went about, and I saw the little test piece of animation that they had up with Sonic and Sally introducing themselves and announcing the animated version of the comics. And I thought the voices sounded good, and I checked out the YouTube channel, and they had like a couple of videos up at the time, and one of them was one of Gloria's storyboards. I thought, oh, that looks good. I'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah, for the
Maybe
first
get a
little while, it was me and Gloria meeting up with Keith on I think it was Saturday or Sunday mornings. The first couple of weeks, then Keith finally became sort of part of the main crew and all that stuff. We added him into the main server.
I'm seeing stuff on the screen now. Wunderbar.
Yes, well, I couldn't find the scene, so I'm making a new one.
We're making it live. We're doing it live. So yeah, other than that, Chief, what other bits and bobs do you have to deal with when dealing with the production? I mean, besides chasing people around for stuff and making sure no one's exploded.
That's pretty much a good chunk of it, is just making sure everything's on par, making sure everyone sort of has what they need to do, lining up things. For the most part of it, everyone here on the team is really good at kind of just supervising themselves, making sure, okay, here's our plan. We need to make this happen. We have meetings every Saturday where we go over basically what happened last week, what's going to happen in the current week, any future plans or any other future meetings with, say, other people who aren't necessarily in our servers, business strategy. That's what we're doing quite a bit of right now, is the business strategy part of it, and making sure that this can actually be something that someone wants to pick up, like a different company or different, say, streaming service, for example, and all that. So yes, we have our own plot lined out and all that stuff, but as you get going along, some of the other people, executives and all that stuff that we're starting to deal with, well, they all kind of have their own ideas of where things should be shifted up a little bit. Luckily, so far, all the notes we've gotten isn't anything drastic. There's mostly just some like notes of like, hey, in order to sell this, maybe just do this little tweak here, do this, and these are things that we're going to have a meeting on soon. But none of them are really overly drastic changes, which is actually good for us because it means the original product that we created was sellable or marketable.
At this point, it would have been wonderful to transition over to Eric to find out about what it was like converting the script from the comic, because season 3 obviously started as a comic, into an actual animated format. But unfortunately, Eric's not available here. That being said, though, we are planning on doing little one-on-one interviews with the folks who can't be here today, and then making a featurette out of this stream, which will be available on the old Patreon. So, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, all that. You lucky people. But yeah, does anyone have any questions they'd like to fire at Chief before we move on to the next poor monkey in this circus? To give it a minute because it has to take a while for it to come through.
The little bit of delay.
Just about 5 minutes or so, yeah.
Which, talking about converting a comic into animation form, comic is one of the best things to turn into an animation or film format, because pretty much a comic book is a form of storyboard. So that helps a lot.
I was actually going to ask that of Gloria if she had been here, because I was wondering, does she take the what the comic artist had previously done and essentially use that as a basis for, with the camera angles and whatnot, to use that as a basis for starting the storyboards? Or does she look at this and think to herself, I have a better way of making this work, but I've got the gist of it, and then essentially goes in fresh? Did we enjoy Sonic Movie 2? Oh, it was a good laugh, that one. I certainly enjoyed it, even though I had it spoiled for me very early on, but yes, I did enjoy it.
Yeah,
I was so mad. I was so mad about that. I'm usually really good at avoiding spoilers. Like, I just turn off social media for a while, and I quickly popped on just to have a look at some artists who I follow. And one of those artists had all 3 of the major spoilers as their banner. I was so mad. Anyway,
got any questions specifically for Chief?
Like anyone loves you, Chief. Hey, there you go. There's one from Arson, yes? There is a question from Arson. Chief, do you have a contingency plan if the streaming service plan falls through?
Well, we don't really have a streaming service plan or anything. We're just talking with people. That's about all I can say there. I guess it's a plan, but no, it's just we're in talks with a lot of people. Do I have any other plan? We're just going to carry on like how we originally... Like, if nothing happens and doesn't go off in that direction, then we'll just carry on as the fan-funded thing we're doing, and it'll be just released on YouTube, and we go from there. Hopefully it's bigger than that, and like I said, we're talking to people. That's all I can say.
We have one here from S Slacks. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, or Slacks. In terms of cameos, Mina and Fiona, question marks?
Yes.
There you go. In fact, if you actually check out the trailer we put up recently, Slacks, you might find one of them having a bit of a dance. Wink, wink.
Though I think that's as far as the cameos go. They stay cameos. I think that's what they're asking. If they go any further.
You mean will they become interactable main characters? Yeah, that's not on the cards as far as I know. They might pop up in a village in the background, but besides that, I don't think it goes any further.
It's definitely not on the cards right now.
We have one from good old Groovy Jeff. Have you been able to get in contact with Sega yet? That's very hush hush.
I can't. Yeah, I can't say.
Hush hush. That's a question later on.
Okay,
hey, just to point out, another person says, any other non-Freedom Fighter Sonic characters showing up for cameos? There are 2 more, and it's from a old friend of mine, Chibi Genhen, Jennifer Hernandez, a couple of her fan characters are in there too as cameos.
I think I know the two you mean.
Excited for that to happen, so look out for that too.
I think I know the two you mean as well. Yeah.
Chrono Hero, Chief. How do you keep sane knowing you've been at this project for ages? I don't.
I'm gonna say you assume everyone on this project is sane. Bold assumption there, mate. Presumptuous. That's what that is.
Oh man, no, it's a good team. Like, we have a really, really good team. We get along fairly good. That's probably why I'm keeping sane as much as I am. But also seeing the progression of where we started at, which was nothing, to where we are right now, well, it keeps you going.
Will a nasty snake be in there? If I have anything to say about it, yes.
No.
Overruled. Veto.
Oh, bunny.
Anyway, I think that's enough out of Chief. You can leave now. We're done with you. Onwards now to everyone's favourite, Mr. Tim. Mr. Tim here is the art director and one of the concept artists for season 3. So, Tim, first of all, how did Chief get in contact with you, or did you get in contact with him?
Well, Chief got in contact with me. I was the comic artist for a long while. And there's a whole story in that itself, where just me getting into comic books, and started out with Sonic Season 3 as my first comic job. And eventually, though, after a couple of years of doing the season comic, I retired. And after I retired, not long after I retired, Paul came to me and he told me that, we're going to give another shot to this animation project. It got big plans. And I'm like, I just retired, but I'll help however I can, And as the project went on, I just got more and more involved. Eventually became the art director of it. So it's just it got dragged into it again. Thanks, Chief. But yeah, that's how I got into it.
Yeah, no problem. Black. Told you couldn't escape.
I'm noticing a pattern with Chief and his recruiting methods here. It's usually a case of, you're doing this now, there's no way, you're not allowed to say no.
Yeah, that's what I say to you quite often.
You said it to me at least 3 times that I can count. The first time was when you asked me to do hair care. The second time was just recently with regards to background illustration. The third was like literally yesterday.
Oh, that's right, the background. I didn't even give you a choice of the background. I'm like, hey, you're doing this now.
Oh, okay, then fine. Sweats, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
it wasn't even
Tim.
a question. It was just, hey, you're doing this.
Fair enough, yeah. I mean, okay. Right, Mr. Tim. Obviously, you were brought on to help initially with like the pre-production stage, like the concepting art. So when we've obviously seen like your first sheets that are still buzzing around on the internet, I might add. What were your thought processes going in when you were designing those? How do you
process? What?
Oh no, carry on. You were off.
Okay. Yeah, my thought process was, well, first of all, you have to think of how are we approaching this episode, this whole thing. So the attitude was the very first question, and the attitude that you go in with this is not a reboot, this is a continuation. So going back and trying to create a show that's in the spirit and heart of the original show, but also I wanted to bring in the attitude of, well, we're going to try to bring this into modern times too. So it's like trying to have the heart of the original, but bring it into modern times. And that always is a very tricky thing to do, because that has very bad connotations sometimes, where people, they want to bring it to modern times, then they put their kind of their own heart or spin into it, and that's not what I really wanted to do. So when I say bring it into modern times, I don't mean like try to bring it into something into it that isn't Sonic Sat-Am. Where when I say modern times, I mean bring in Sonic Sat-Am as it was, but make it so that when you watch it today, it doesn't feel like it's something that's old. So you make it into 4K, you use digital mediums to do it, but even when it's digital, make it into like traditional animation made in digital forms. Just these things that can improve it, enhance it, evolve it, but still have the heart of the original show. And also what I did when I went in to do like the original reference sheets, I didn't do the reference sheets that the original show used. I made a conscious decision to do that because the original show, it seemed like when they animated, the animations were different than the original reference sheets. I noticed that. When you go to the original sheets, it's like this, I don't know, stockier. It's a lot more stockier stuff, and people, they don't remember the reference sheets when they watch a show, of course. They remember the show. They remember the designs that's from the show. And if you want to do the heart of the show, you're going to want to do the designs that they ended up with, not what they started with. So I scoured through the show, scoured through it, to putting a ruler to these characters, seeing how tall they were, discovering that Sally's taller than Sonic. Mind-blowing to me. But just trying to come up with new reference sheets that were the designs that came from the show itself. And I want to really work hard on that. And hearing that people are saying like, oh man, this feels just like the show. This is, I had a huge part in that. And that makes me feel so incredible that people are loving that they are loving the attitude that I brought at the very start of this, where it's bringing it into modern times, but it's the heart of the original show, and people are feeling that. And that's a huge accomplishment for me. Thank you guys for enjoying this project and everything. It's incredible.
So obviously people have asked about cameos and whatnot from certain characters. So we've obviously confirmed at least Mina. Were you responsible for Mina's design?
Yeah, Mina, when we were going to put her into the background, what I wanted to do with her, of course, is to bring her into Sonic SatAM design, but also with in mind that she's going to be a background character. So I first converted her to become a SatAM designed character, and then I reduced things like her skirt. I didn't put the skirt on her because the skirt is very frilly and showy, and I wanted to give her a design that, blended into the background, and you didn't notice her as much as Sonic, who is right there in the middle of the scene. You want to see Sonic and his guitar and him doing the stuff. So that's why her design is a lot more simpler and doesn't have the skirt and everything.
I thought the design was harkening back to her original look, where she had the combat shorts and the tank top. I thought that was harkening back to her original look.
Yeah. And yeah. I could have done the skirt and everything, which is like the singing Mina, but yeah, it's a simpler design. It's because she's a background character.
So what do you think about when you're adapting a character and trying to convert them into the SatAM style?
Well, the first thing you have to think of is forget everything you know about Sonic's drawing, because I've been drawing Sonic since I was like 5 years old. And everything I've learned has been through more modern like Sonics and the Archie Sonic comics, Sonic Adventure, these art styles. And being taught that, I have to forget all of that when I'm doing SatAM, because it's totally a different way of drawing Sonic. Totally different. And so when you're converting something from a modern more style into that Sonic SatAM style, you have to think of what's the attitude and what's the way that they would draw them in Sonic SatAM. And that's not something I can really describe. That's just something that you kind of have to feel, and also have to so they drew Sonic in this way. This character kind of looks like Sonic, So I'll draw him kind of in that way too. But also this body part is more like maybe Tails. So I'll take like a piece of Tails and I'll put it on there, maybe modify it a little bit. And you kind of pick and piece from these clues that you have. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. These clues from all these different things in the episode that you can piece together to create a design that looks like it belongs in the show.
There you go, folks. Mean Among Us is in fact a horrible Frankenstein creation. But Tim, you're also the prop designer. Some of your work has recently popped up, although people probably won't even notice it inside of the recently released trailer. Do you want to go over like what you think about when you come to designing props for the show that weren't originally in it?
Oh, yeah. So obviously when you have props that are already in the show, it's a lot easier because you're able to take those elements and just kind of redraw them. But when they're not in the actual show, that becomes a real challenge. And that's when, I really had to use the team's help on that because it can get really hard on that. Because you've got to make a prop that looks like it belongs in the show. And you can make something that looks complicated and awesome and stuff, but then you get something that looks like it might belong more in He-Man or something, not in Sonic Sam. So you have to strike this balance between something maybe that Robotnik would have invented, something Robotnik would have made in the show when you're making like a new robot or something, but also make it look unique and try to elevate what has come before that prop.
Right.
At the same time, make it simple enough that it can be used for animation. Because when you're designing a prop, you gotta keep in mind that these guys gotta draw this prop like over and over and over again. And I had to put in the prop to Gloria and Keith and say, how does this work for an animator? And they would come back to me and say, this does not work for an animator because these details. And I'm like, okay, I'll go and I'll draw it again. And did that like over, I think maybe 1 week or several weeks of just going back and forth with with like these designs and seeing like, yeah, that works, that doesn't work, that works, that doesn't work. And finally coming to a design we can go between the conceptor and the animators coming together and like, yeah, that works for both of us. That's great.
Interestingly for you guys, you'll actually be able to see some of Tim's prop designs in the latest trailer. If you actually look at the manacles on Bunny in the prison scene, those were designed by Mr. Tim, and there was a hell of an awful lot of back and forth about those.
Yay!
At one point, we even pitched fuzzy ones.
That was so cool seeing
here.
those in the episode. That was so cool.
I think I've got them
Just
up here somewhere. Just a sec, I'll go find them.
Anyway. Spanking.
Not the fuzzy ones.
He also designed the gun turrets that are on the walls in I'm just going to call it the Red Room.
I won't take credit for designing the gun turrets. The gun turrets were mainly designed by Carlos because Carlos drew the background first, and then I based my design for the wall turrets off of what Carlos did.
We'll have to annoy Carlos about that in a moment then. But yeah, for the last 4 minutes before we kick you out, anyone got any questions for Mr. Tim?
And I'll also add, when you talk about wall turrets, talking about the ones that have like the wings on them and stuff, I designed the ones that are more snaky. I made like these snaky ones.
Did we get Jaleel White to voice Sonic? Well, no, we have our own Sonic and he sounds just as good. Talking to him next. I think you've covered everything, Tim. Doesn't seem to be any questions for you so far. Give him another 20 seconds. Either that or just no one likes you. No one wants to talk to you.
Oh.
Just adding to what Tim was saying about props, it's funny because I saw something a few years ago, like in the comics, in the Spider-Man comics, when a new artist starts drawing the comics, the Spider-Man has a lot of webs, a lot of lines in his uniform, and as the time goes, he starts to fly the his costume because it's so hard to always draw all that lines on Spider-Man uniform. It's almost impossible to do it with a deadline. So yeah,
man.
you have to you can do a cool prop, but you can do it all the time. Everyone can do it. It's a real concern.
Got two questions for you there, Tim. One from Arson. What was your favorite thing to design for season 3?
Favorite thing to design for season 3, like actually design?
Yeah.
Probably the cuffs. I think I'm really proud of those cuffs. I think they look cool. They're simple and yet they're catchy. And it's just, I felt such a great feeling when I actually got to see them animated. So I think that's my favorite thing.
Again, harkening back to what I said to Carlos, you know when you've done a good job because your mind doesn't pick up on them. You know, your mind subconsciously sees them but doesn't instantly like lock on and go, oh, look at those over the top, manacle cuffs. They seamlessly transition into the show. So your mind's like, they're there, but they don't stick out. So you've done the job seamlessly at that stage.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
One from S-Lax, art-wise, was adapting to the style any issue?
It was an issue. It was a lot of issue because, like I said, I was trained in the more modern style. So trying to retrain myself to draw in that way was challenging. It was quite challenging. It took a while.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tim.
You're welcome.
Next up,
thank you, guys.
Next up, we have Mr. Larry White, who is not only the voice of Sonic, but he's also one of the compositors. So just to start off for yourself, Larry, when you're handed the script, do you instantly just start belting out the readings, or do you wander around your room, just saying voice? How do you go about getting into the mindset of the character and then producing the recordings?
Well, I didn't do much at first. So I got the script, and my roommate happened to have a whole audio studio in his bedroom at the time. So I just kind of quickly watched a clip of Sonic just to get the idea again, and I just started recording myself doing the voice that I had heard, and then after I turned it in, the guys were like, that was good, but we're not going to use any of that. And then the next time that I got into the recording studio, I had the team in my ear, and the thing about his voice is the Sonic voice is multiple voices. His voice changes drastically, from different episodes and different scenes. So what the team was doing was for every line, they would literally have me I would have YouTube open, and they would send me to go to this episode at this time. This is the Sonic voice that we want for this line, and then I would do that line a million times till they were till they got what they wanted, and then all right, next line, they go to this episode this time. This is the voice that we want, and so I just kind of repeated that line in the episode, and then I just made the lines instead what was in the script, and that's ultimately how we ended up getting the Sonic voice. So
how many recordings did you generally have to do per scene before you actually nailed it? Because you mentioned, you do a whole line of recordings, and then the team would be like, nah, don't want that one. So how many takes did you generally have to do per scene?
Let's see. There was the recording I did on my own. Then with the team, each line I feel I did 25 to 50 times or something. It was a lot. I felt I was just doing it over and over and over. They're like, oh, we kind of like that, but this part's not quite right. They were it was like every little word was like micromanaged. And then we did a few days of those, and then we did a revision. We did a revision afterwards, like days, where I guess like they put it into the edit and they didn't quite like some lines, and then so we tweaked those, and so I don't know how many times it was, but it felt like a lot. It was very and it definitely wore, like, we recorded till like my voice like couldn't go anymore. I was just starting to like have like my voice crack, and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
I have to ask this question just because I know Gloria's mentioned it from time to time. Were there any points after doing long recording sessions where you just be out doing your daily life and you just suddenly slip into the Sonic voice, like completely subconsciously?
Actually, not at all. I as soon as I'm done recording, like almost like any job I do, like I immediately forget my work like after I'm done. So like, yeah, my day to day, I'm not like, Sonic requires like a lot of like, he has like a lot of like enthusiasm and stuff, and like I'm really like low key all the time. So whenever like my friends have like heard like the snippets that's been released of like me as Sonic, they're like, "That's you?" Because like I'm nowhere near with, like, normally with that kind of like energy. Even right now, I'm like putting in more enthusiasm than I am normally.
I love that, the fact you almost literally have to become a completely different person in order to emulate the character. That's actually kind of cool. Like it's the embodiment of method acting, I suppose.
I guess so.
There's a question for you. When it came to season 3, were you the one who reached out and applied, or was it like someone saying, "Oh, we know this project's looking for this. You'd be perfect for it. Go talk to them. Go." Or did they reach out to you? So, like, we've heard your stuff. Do you want to give it a shot?
I knew Laura, the voice of Sally, and she actually like made me aware of like the comics you guys make and everything. So she, just knowing me, she thought I had like the voice of Sonic in me, because I guess I have a little bit of like a scratchy, nasally voice. So yeah, they just contacted me again, and they were like, we want you to do Sonic. So I'm like, all right. So I'm not really like a voice actor. I've acted in my own films, but I'm mainly like a filmmaker and editor and stuff.
I do find it wonderfully poetic that the voices of Sally and Sonic are actually friends. I just find that wonderfully poetic. At least for season 3, you know. So you're also one of season 3's compositors, like I mentioned earlier. I mean, annoyingly, this is one of the things where I'm going to have to come back to you, because that's like a later part of the process. But, you know, because the ones will be chopped up later, I can do it now, I reckon. So compositing, for those in the audience who don't know, is the final stage of the production. It's basically when the team member is given all the pieces, the background, the animation, the sound, the special effects, all that. And the compositor stitches them all together into a coherent scene.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Carlos is going to leave, so we should all say goodbye to Carlos.
Oh, no. Oh,
Nope.
Drat, do I have any time to quickly give you...
No, you can finish talking with
Larry. I was going to do you next.
Yes, no problem. I was just warning everyone. So
okay. Well, in that case, I'll come back to compositing later, and I'll just get to you, Carlos, so we can get you over and done out of the way. So, sorry, Larry, I will come back to you. So, yes, Carlos is one of the background artists for season 3. Any guys who tuned into our streams before will probably have seen him actually giving us a live demonstration a few months back, where he painted a junkyard scene of Robotropolis. So yeah, Carlos, how do you go about creating the backgrounds from start to finish? Obviously, you're given a brief, and sometimes I know Gloria will provide you guys with like a setting shot, like a scening shot. Are there any times when you are literally just given a brief and you're told to go nuts, or do you always work off a prompt?
it's always start with the animatic. Like Gloria always give, oh, this is the shot that you will be illustrating right now. So it's always have some visual reference before the start. So no no free mode yet. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry, I just forgot to press my push to talk mic button. I'm rubbish. So yeah, once you've got the brief and you've seen it all, you kind of how do you go about starting one of those illustrations? Because for the guys who don't know, those illustrations are often done in 4K. They are huge, absolutely massive, and they're often needed for panning shots, close-up shots. They'll often pan they'll often pan the entire part of a scene. Like one background could be used for multiple different shots. So how do you even go about starting something that big?
The first thing is crying. No, just kidding. I always start in trying to see. First, I look the reference. The team always provides a description like, oh, this has to be more dark. This has to be more light. And I check the animatic so I can see the previous scenes and the after scenes. So where this will happen in the episode, just to know what's the story behind. Like there is some sense like the prison, like what leads to get in the prison. So just some, you don't start, I don't know, just with it's just, I say this because it's always start to think you are doing some not isolated background. This background is a part of scene that is a part of an episode. That's what I keep in mind. But for the huge backgrounds, things we have, I don't know, a lot of RAM these days, so the Photoshop don't crash easily, and we go. I start like most of my process. I do a sketch and I send it for revision, and then if it's all right, the drawing is all right, I start painting, and then it's smooth sailing after I start painting because the drawing is fine and the teams know what they receive. It's all part of the process.
Do you use any additional tools? Because I know some of the background painters might use like 3D modeling software like Blender to like frame a scene or give them a starting point. Like for scenes with challenging perspective, they might go and use a tool like Blender. Do you use anything like that?
I used for the scene where there is the turrets on that room that has the turrets. I was having trouble to get the right perspective, and then I did a quick model for the scene. So okay, this is this is the proportion, because that scene had a lot of different angles. There is more like a establishing shot and down, a camera like from below, from the ceiling. So for that scene, I started with a 3D model, but it's just a simple gray room, nothing fancy.
That scene alone would have driven me nuts. I hate doing like subtle curved rooms.
Oh yeah, it's really hard.
I hate them so. I mean, for hair care, I had to do the inside of a knothole hut. So naturally, they're all. I mean, the weird thing about the knothole huts is you look at them in the show, and they have these. Sometimes they're almost square, despite the fact that the exteriors is like cylinders. So I decided to make the whole thing a cylinder, and it was just spending an awful lot of time doing really subtle curved walls, and it drove me mad.
Yes, because when you start to painting, you have to be very smooth with the painting. Like if you go, I don't know, if you have harsh marks, the room starts dropping like a square. So it's tricky to draw and it's tricky to paint.
So did you apply for season 3, or did season 3 reach out to you knowing that you were a good background painter?
I think I got an email from in French that was saying, "Hey, this guy is reached to me, but I can't do right now." and I emailed back. I think I emailed Paul or Tim, I don't remember. But then I say, hey, I'm a background artist. I have worked in other animations. I'm free for freelance. And then I think we did a scene. The first scene, the first scene where there is Robotropolis, and then I got. I think I did I don't know, almost 20 backgrounds after that.
So, of these scenes you've done thus far, which would you say was either the most complicated or at least your favourite scene that you've worked on thus far?
The most complicated was that first one, the Robotropolis, because I wasn't. It was tricky to get the style from the original show because there is a lot of black shadows. Like you usually you try to not paint everything black. You try to give some color, kind of that. But for the first one is. I wasn't getting right. I was doing more like pointy buildings, like something was. It was going away from the original show. But I got feedbacks. The team was super helpful and tried to try to do more like this, use more black on the shadows. And then I don't know. After that it clicked and it was kind of more easily to achieve the style of the show.
I am so glad that you picked up on that because that is one of the one things I was also struggling with. Like every time I looked at a Saturday AM screenshot, it was like
face to face
so
with
much black
10,000 SWAT
and
bots.
yet every time when I try to paint a background, I'm like, I don't want to use that much black. That seems weird, and it's almost integral to the look. It's like you feel like you almost have to do almost treat it like an ink painting first, and then put color on top of it. Weird.
Yes, kind of like that because it's. But I don't know. It's easier like it. But when you train, I don't know. In other shows, they try. No. The shadows have to be bluish or reddish. But in the Sonic's original show, they use they use black, and they are really happy with it. And
it kind of touches on what Tim said, where he was mentioning how you want to kind of modernize it, but you don't want to take away from what made the original work. It's kind of similar with the background paintings as well. It's like we have so many more tools at our disposal than what the original background painters would have had, yet you have that desire to really push it, and yet you have to throttle yourself back to the point where you look at how they would have done it, and then you're just left with this, how did you do this with so few tools?
Yes. I have a huge respect for the old show because the guys were probably working with gouache or acrylics, and they had, I don't know, probably less time than I have to finish a background. So they had to do it quickly. They have to do it traditionally, and it was. I have huge respect for for the old shows because it's so much easier now with Photoshop and other technologies.
That does actually lead into a rather interesting thing I was curious about. This is more of a foible of 90s cartoons. Like Carlos just mentioned, they often had to do it at speed because they were obviously on a time budget, using traditional mediums and whatnot. So you'll often see in certain scenes that like the background paintings are completely wildly out of perspective, but that weirdness is part of almost the charm or the feel of what made those shows look the way they did. So do you often find yourself when you're painting trying to make similar kind of errors on purpose just to make it mesh better?
If I try to do that when I do a background, that's your question?
Yeah, do you try to put the mistakes that the traditional painters might have made in, or is it like we've got the tools now, let's use them?
No, I think I try to do to do it right because for example, if I do the perspective is kind of crooked, I think this might lead to, I don't know, some troubles for the animators. and I don't know, the animators, it's as you can see, the like the what's happening on the screen, it's easier to it's harder to correct after you do some the key moments and this kind of stuff. So I try to do the the more correct that I can, but always one thing that I do, it's I always try to have some reference open from the show. Like if I'm doing a Robotropolis scene in the interior, like how the interior was made, like how the visual language, how the doors was made, how the shadows was made. That's what I use to like keep the same magic, as you can say, from the original show. It's use them for some kind of reference. But in terms of trying to do, I don't know, different or no, I try to do it more correctly to don't cause trouble to other team members.
So when you are actually when you've given a brief or a background painting from start to finish, how long is the process usually for you? I mean, Robotropolis aside, because that thing looks like it took probably weeks to do, considering how many buildings there are. But stay one of the like the Red Room. How long do you reckon that would have taken you from start to finish?
Yes, that was another long one. I think it's honest the biggest. I don't know. It has probably 10 pixels wide or something, because the scene had to be used for zoom. Like the scene starts like far away and then it zooms in the scene. So that was took a while, but it usually I can do a drawing or a sketching in a day or two, and then like more 3 to 5 days to finish a simple paint, a simple 4K painting, the Sonic style. But now that I did several, I know how to work with the visual language and the style and this kind of stuff. But it's between a week or two of work.
Well, that makes me feel
not full time work, but like I said, it depends. Like the size, the complexity, and this other stuff.
Well, that makes me feel better because I thought I was too slow.
No,
there you go, guys.
I always think I'm too slow. I always think, oh no, this is the last scene the guys are giving to me. I'm thinking too slow. They're going to kick me out of the project.
There is no chance of that happening. You should see the praises they lavish on you in some of the other Discord channels. Like every time one of your scenes drops, we've just got 3 or 4 people just going, "Oh my god, how does he do it? He's a warlock."
I wish I was a warlock. I'm just a simple guy trying to do the best work that I can.
And bless him, Carlos is only one of the background painters, because I know there's this kind of misconception that some people do have where they look at projects like Season 3 and they assume it's like, oh, it's one guy doing all the backgrounds, one guy doing all the animating, one guy does the music, and no, why is it taking forever? It's like, no, these are full-on teams of people busting their asses. One painting can take up to a week, so yeah.
Yes.
Animating, it's not for the impatient. So yeah, has anyone got any questions for Carlos about environment painting, background painting, anything like that? Give him a moment; it takes a while for it to come through. No, I think they're done with you, mate.
And yes, Zero Fire said there is more people doing backgrounds. Yes, Sienna is do amazing work. I always try to do my work as good as her work because she's amazing.
I love that because they both do the same thing to each other. Because I told Sienna, "Oh my god, I thought that was one of Carlos's paintings," and she responded with, "Oh, thank God! I'm always trying to match Carlos's work." Like that's a good game you can actually play. Is like pull up like one of Carlos' paintings or one of Sienna's painting, then go through the trailer and try to identify who did what. You won't be able to. They're that close to each other. Oh, there's one from Bundaberg. Whilst being on the team, what's the most valuable thing you've learned?
First is the it might be sounds cheesy or something like that, but it's the passion all the other team members have for the project since they started my first background and getting the revisions. I saw, oh no, these guys are for real. They really believe in this project and they want to make it happens, and that was making me keep contributing to the project. There was some time, I think in 2021, I wasn't with much. I didn't have any more time to contribute to the project, but I always try to do at least one background per month just to keep collaborating with the project, because the passion the team have it's amazing.
Got one here from that one Yoshi, which I will partially answer because we have already answered it, but then I'll spin it. What was the hardest background to create? Carlos mentioned the Robotropolis panoramic scene. That one was an absolute murder from I can imagine. But I would actually spin that into, when it comes to painting backgrounds, do you have a preference for the type of scene you're painting? Like, if someone hands you a forest scene, do you go, oh no, I'm going to draw leaves? Or are you just happy with all?
I think I'm happy with. I think I'm happy with all the backgrounds that I did just for Sonic or other animations, but I think the hardest one that I had to do was to draw some streets, and I had to. It was other part, but I had to draw a lot of houses, and it was tricky to keep everything in perspective and this kind of stuff. But for now, Sonic doesn't have any streets and regular houses, but so it's fine.
Got one from Zero Fire there. Last question for you. What inspired you to work with this project besides Sonic, besides the Sonic fandom?
Well, first, I try to actually how I can phrase it. I try to be as professional as in any other project. Like if I have a revision, I try to handle. Okay, I can do it better. I can do it quicker. How I can help the team. That's why I can. My first thought, but for this being in a Sonic project is kind of funny for me, because I watched the show when I was a kid. So it's really weird when I watched this show when I was a kid, and now I'm working on the sequel. How that happens, but so it's, I don't know, it's kind of nice to work on this kind of project.
RGM, yes, Carlos, I believe you're from Brazil, aren't you?
Yes, I'm from Brazil.
The team is literally all over the globe. We have people on the Pacific coast of the States. We have people in Canada, East Coast, Brazil, UK, Italy. It's a full-on global effort, this thing. Well, thanks ever so much for your time there, Carlos.
Thanks, everyone. I need to leave now, but I wish I can hang out a little bit more with you guys. But maybe next stream we can hang out more.
You all heard it. He wants to be involved in the next stream. That's a verbal contract. He can't pull out.
Okay, I signed it.
I'm gonna get you with the cuffs. I'm gonna put you.
Yes, RTM. He is literally from Brazil. I know that might have been a meme, like he's going to Brazil, but no, he's literally from Brazil.
Yes. Thanks
Cheers,
the
Carlos.
internet to bring it all together. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Bye bye.
Now we get to arguably the biggest superstar of the entire production, the one who, if anyone was going to have an OnlyFans account, it'd be him, Mr. Keith, our wonderful animation director / supervisor / bloke who probably does most of the work you guys have been enjoying.
Oh, would you look at the time? I better run.
Oh, I hate you.
Oh, what have you got for me?
I was going to make jokes about sending a hit squad after you, but you live in Italy. I'm fairly certain I could do it as well. Womp womp.
Yeah,
But yeah, Keith is the...
Anyway.
Keith, I know you do, you told us. Keith is the animation, his official role would be the animation director. He's the guy who does an awful lot of the rough passes. He's the guy who does an awful lot of the main body of the work that you will see in front of you. Well, he's definitely the public face of the animation side of things, because our other animators are all squirreled away, hiding away from the camera, because they're camera shy or something. But yeah, Keith.
I only want the spotlight on me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you're absolute prima donna.
Yes.
So Keith, obviously you are a professional animator by trade. He's worked on a number of other professional projects in the past, such as The Amazing World of Gumball and Star Trek Lower Decks, to name but a few. He's also worked on the video game Skullgirls. So this lad has got some proper animating chops behind him, which makes you wonder why on earth he teamed up with a bunch of miscreants like us. So Keith, why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I was mostly convinced by well, the project had a lot of potential. I could see all the potentialness in the project. As I mentioned before, like, I saw Gloria's animatics and I was really impressed. I was really impressed by the voice acting as well and how accurate it was to the original cast. And convincing as acting as well, not just, they sound alike, but it's good acting, it's believable characters. Yeah, and just convinced by the project, and I thought I could come on and give them a hand in areas that they don't have too much experience in, because I know one was a recent graduate at the time, and other was background in comic books, and other was a mechanic, so I was able to come in and say, right, this is how we set up an actual production so we can get something going.
You make it sound like the actual crew of Saturday M there. You've got a mechanic, you've got a recent graduate, you've got a dude who's into comic books. Like, you've pretty much summed up Rota, Sally, and Sonic there.
Yeah, exactly.
Same as Sonic.
Hey, yeah.
It's kind of interesting that you came on originally just to, obviously just to do the animation side of things and help out, and you almost ended up running the roost, so to speak. I mean, this is kind of an off-topic question in a way, but do you find your time working with Season 3 has helped you in your more recent animation projects? Like, were there any skills you picked up in managing a team that you were then able to use later on?
Yeah, because I've got a role as kind of like assistant supervisor in a way. It's a lead animator role, but we're going over many people's scenes and I'm doing a lot of mentoring for the more junior team members, and yeah, it has actually. I've been putting a lot to practice, checking out scenes, giving notes and feedback. Oops, shouldn't be drawing his mouth. Multitasking. What am I doing?
Yeah, this is the part where the actual visual side of the stream starts to collapse because I'm now asking him questions, so we have to talk and work at the same time.
Not that it was sturdy in the first place. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So yeah, in turn on the animation side of things, once you've got the storyboards from Gloria, what's usually your first process? Like, how do you go about taking what Gloria has done and converting it into an actual animated scene?
So shall I talk about other things for pre-production? Because I mean,
yes, please.
So the way we're a production setup is into 3 stages: pre-production, production, and post-production. And what I dipped my toes in a bit of pre-production as well. So I guess I can talk a bit like that. So after Gloria's done her boards and the whole animatic and everything, oh, what am I doing here? Ugh. I think we needed to create a color script which identifies the dramatic moments and establishes the color and the mood of the scene. With this a whole color script that goes through the mood. I'm gonna go stop drawing for a second. Ugh. And
For the chaps who don't know on there, do you want to explain what a color script is?
yes, I will. I'm going to bring something in a second. I've got a little example image. So a color script is, there we go. Since we're kind of talking about this sequence as an example, let me just hide everything but this layer. Okay. So basically, it's a colored up, a rough painting or illustration of each of a section of the story, highlighting certain moods and background changes. So the point of them is to tell the background artist what colors to use for the background, and to help the compositors when they're they're adjusting the colors for the characters and lighting effects and all sorts. Lighting direction as well, like the shadows more or less. So this is one of the sequences where Sonic is in the tunnel. I think we did like a little scene on that. Skip on that one. And so here we have a conscious choice of which lights to have on and which ones to have that are broken in this junkyard scene. And in the background, we've chosen like quite a red and purple colours, because this is the first time Sonic is in a bit of danger, and the danger potentially this is like foreshadowing, Snively and another mysterious figure. So we have their colours in the background, and we make a use of jagged shapes. It's all psychological, and a lot of greens for kind of like that sickly scared moment. Greens, whites, reds. You see a lot of that in Kubrick's movie, The Shining. Greens, whites, reds and browns. Great horror film. Yeah, and for here we got like the light of the little spy orbs, sorry.
I always call them the Eye Spies.
The Eye Spies. I spy with my little eye.
I don't know where I don't know where that term came from. Because, I've obviously rewatched the series since, and they are referred to as the Spy Orbs by Robotnik a few times. But for some strange reason, I Spy always stuck in my head for those things.
Maybe
I don't know if they were ever actually referred to that, but anyway, carry on.
I probably not. I don't know. I'm not that great at Sonic knowledge. But yeah, so that's what that's about. Color keys in a color script. Ended up doing them. I also did some turnaround character sheets based on Tim's designs for the background characters, like a number of them.
Just to quickly jump in, I do find it incredibly impressive, both from the amount of effort you've put into the color scripts alone, that you could pull up, I believe it's Carlos's background painting of the jail cell, and the lighting is just like pitch perfect to the color script as it is in the final painting. It's that close.
Oh, you have to thank Carlos for that and his exceptional talent and respect for color sheet scripts.
Was it yourself who did the color scripts, or was that Gloria?
Those are Gloria's drawings. I just painted over the top of them to get them the colour and the tone to set the mood.
So once the colour scripts are done, what's the next phase of the process? Next part of the pipeline?
Well, the next step after that, I guess it's all kind of simultaneous. You've got some prop design, character design. This is all part of visual development, colour script. I guess it's close to production, but the production manager would set up a production manager piece of software that helps you control the production line. We're using a web-based program called Airtable. It took me a while to set up. Had to get images of every single scene, stick them into and create like columns and rows for each individual scene, and identify which background was connected to which scene. Write all the information, how many frames it lasted for. Write down the scene numbers, production notes if it's got any fading in or out, or any other little bits of production notes. The animator that was assigned is going to be assigned to the scene. The background artist assigned to the background painting, and all that stuff. The process, how much it's, what stage the scene is, if it's in progress, if it's in review, if it's in a retake, or if it's been approved, that sort of thing. It's a bit of a boring side of things, but it's got to be
This is a
done.
curiosity thing for when you join an animation project like Sad.am. Do you do any kind of like off-screen animation tests, like almost like you would do if you were, an actor trying to get into a role? You go off and do like, I'm animating Antoine for this one. I'll watch a few scenes with Antoine, then I'll try and animate him acting a bit cowardly just to see if I can get the character motions right. Or is it? Do you just go straight in and go like, I'm sure I can wing it?
Well, for the Sonic scene, we did a test scene, and I wanted to get the animation because it's a 90s thing. I wrote down a load of, I found a load of reference from YouTube, mostly like Don Bluth, Eric Goldberg, old 90s cartoons. Stuff where you see characters kind of moving kind of slowly. They do an accent with their head, and they've got lots of squash and stretch and flexibility in their bodies when walking. Stuff you see in, like Don Bluth or old 90s commercials. Like there's this lovely one with Thompson, is it? The cat on the yellow pages. He helps you find stuff. British thing. I'll put it up sometime, but actually I can do it now. I've got the power. I have the power.
He's gone mad. He's gone mad with power. Just as a quick interject there, Em says she's going to have to dart off, so you can say ta-ta now if you need to, Em.
Bye, everybody. It's been good hanging out with you.
Bye, Megan.
Bye, Tim. So good to
Bye-bye.
meet you. Bye, Larry. Bye, guys. Love chatting with you.
See you later, Em.
Would you have liked to talk to her first, Megan?
Oh, don't worry. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, I'm not planning on leaving anyone out. So once the stream is done, I'm going to be talking with Eric, the writer, Gloria, the storyboard artist, as well as Megan, who is the social media manager. In little one-on-one.
We need to make sure that we peer pressure Paul into getting that Q&A up, because people are asking, and I'm like, it has been done. But
Yes.
Paul.
That's a good point. Everyone in the chat spam Chief telling him to update the Q&A video, because we did one a while back, and he's just been reluctant to post it.
He looks really good on camera too, so you get to see his face. But
He's so
so if
sexy.
everyone could just put at Paul Scott in the chat and demand the video, we can get it up. But anyways, guys, it's been a slice. I'll be chatting with you online all day on our Twitter and our socials. And see you later.
Bye, Em. So what I've got.
Oh no, I've forgotten her name. From Blind Date. Oh no, what's her name?
Oh yes, I don't. Must probably says here.
She passed away, bless her. I can't remember her name though.
Cilla Black. Cilla Black.
So Cilla Black, yes. What a legend. Anyway, getting off topic, back on track. So yes,
That was it. That's all I wanted to show. Yeah. So I looked at the original series and how they animated the characters and put a load of notes down on a piece of paper and or on the computer. Looked at how they did, specific things. Compiled all that stuff together, and kept that in mind when animating Sonic in the Tunnel, and then based stuff off of that. And I try and keep that in mind when supervising. So everyone else hasn't got to go through that laborious task themselves, and just be like, could you add some more overlap on Sonic spikes here? Because modern day animators were quite used to doing quite stiff animation that's quite on point and on model, but it isn't nearly as flexible as the old stuff.
by the way, Keith, we're on the OBS overlay. It's very interesting to watch, but I think everyone would like to see your rant one more. There we go.
Yeah, I went back to that.
That's okay. I was just watching the
Just,
OBS flicking.
just-
Ooh, shiny.
Oops.
So when you start getting into the meat and bones of the animation process, I think we've been watching. This is how you would start a scene, is it? With the rough sketch layouts and whatnot.
It's a bit slow because I'm trying to think of the acting, but it's difficult because I've got no sound really. I just kind of doing the key poses. He's what he's saying in the scene is, wait, let me just give me 1 second to re-listen to the dialogue. A diddly dog.
And so, there I was, face to face with 10,000 SWAT bots.
And so there I was, face to face with 10,000 SWAT bots. He says something like that, but in a more French, convincing accent.
I was going to say, was that Landon's performance there, or was that you doing it yourself?
That was Landon's performance.
It was a bit quiet. I just suddenly heard it, and I was like, "Is that Landon?" Or
And then I kind of,
which is in the chat,
in case people missed out or couldn't hear from my screen.
Just about heard it, and I was wondering whether that was Landon's performance. Yeah, he's lurking in the chat, by the way. Bonjour, Landon.
Oh, awesome! Love that. I'm gonna have fun animating this later when am I animating this? I don't know. I'll tidy it up properly a little bit. I'll hand it off to someone else and be like, "Hey, you can kind of use this if you want."
All right. So when you're actually, obviously, you're doing like a rough animation here. Is this is where you would leave it off for another animator to hand it off? So like this is like essentially the bare bones of what a scene would look like. I need you to then polish it up before we hand it over to the cleanup artists.
No, not yet. No, I'd tie down the drawings and make them look really nice, and sort out the timing properly. But yeah, pretty much. It gives them the main keys. So obviously gonna have like a nice slow movement where he separates his arms and looks from left to right slowly, no blinking, or screen left to screen right. And then when he says SWAT 10,000 SWAT bots, he opens his arms, to show the scale and the grandeur of his accomplishments. We all know it's a load of, cop swallow. What's it?
How dare you! We all know full well that Antoine totally would fend off 10,000 SWAT bots by himself without any help whatsoever because he's that brave.
Yeah, no, not everything. His mother believes him. Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised that this scene is a close-up shot. I kind of envisioned him like being stood on a stump and doing it. It would have been a bit more pulled out.
Oh yeah, it does. I guess we're gonna pull out with the camera further. That's kind of like drew a bit more of his body. But the next scene, well, there's a reaction of people listening to him, enthralled by his magic. But then the scene after that is him at a distance talking to people and blah blah blah.
That's a good question for Mr. Jake there, is he noticed that we're using the pilot Antoine model sheet rather than a Season 1 model sheet. I wasn't aware there was a Season 1 model sheet. I know there's a Season 2 one.
Well, it's very similar. Oh, it's just missing some cheek things and some...
I always thought the pilot one, the forehead was a bit longer as well.
Yeah. Though...
But also, pilot designs are best, fight me. I love the pilot designs. There's something fun about them.
Well,
It is a little goofier, ain't it?
Yeah.
Well, even Bunny, there's something about her, the way they animated her in that one. She's like more angular almost. I know it's strange.
I don't know about Bunny. Got quite thick thighs, but then
I
everyone...
mean, if you look at the way her face is structured, it's sharper almost.
Maybe. I haven't really paid much attention. Oh yeah, yes, because there are conscious decisions with hard straights versus curves in the drawings. But
Curves are generally easy to do, aren't they?
well, it's not that they're easier. There's no difference. It's no more difficult drawing a perfect round circle than there is drawing a perfectly straight line. Just that. People tend to just gravitate towards rounding everything off. If you've got like a round nose, instead of going, oh, it's a bit straight here and then it comes round there, it's just like, round circle, finished. And since I doubt they had much time to animate, the people like, get this stuff done.
So once you've done with once you've cleaned up this essential rough, what would be the next stage after that? So you've tightened down the key poses.
So
do you tend to do the in betweens as well, or do you hand them off to someone else?
well, I can show some stuff. Let me just show you. I'll go over a scene here that one of our animators has done. I'm just going to...
Do you want to name drop them?
Yes, well, a José Rosado, not Rosada. Sorry, it's all the Italian in me is changing the surname around. Yeah, let me just say, is it display capture? Let's shrink that. He's an amazing animator. It's scene 76. Let me just see. Where's the first one?
Ah, yes, the famous Scene 76.
Yeah, so these would be the layout posing. Oops, has some notes on there. Oh, I need to whip my animators into doing proper naming conventions.
Speaking of which, how many animators did this scene kill?
3 cleanup artists.
This is one of the few scenes that actually has a body count.
I think this is the first one. Yeah, these are the layout poses. No, I didn't want you to go on to the next video. Microsoft, and then you gonna have to use QuickTime Player. Alright, yeah. So these are the layout poses, main poses tell the story. Then the next stage, this is the stage we're hiring for now actually. You put the background in and you set up the camera angle.
And that would be the job of the posing animator, yes?
Yes, and then you draw the main poses. and then the assistant would come along. What's the next one? And oh yeah,
Since I think we were asked by Sorcerer Lane, I think it was. I might have got the name wrong. Someone asked at the very beginning of the stream if we were still hiring. That was a role we're hiring for. If you can do posing, if you're an animator that can do posing, then send across a showreel/portfolio.
Yeah, we've kind of landed on a handful of artists at the moment, but I'm sure we'll always be looking in the future. And this is what the assistants will be doing later. Let's go back.
So in terms of the pipeline as it goes from the rough animation, then you would take it into, would it then be the posing? So like you've got rough,
so
then you would do posing?
You've got like the layout posing, the main poses, and then we'll have like an assistant pass where they do all the in-betweens and the rest of the shadows. And then we'll have a cleanup stage with colouring. Cleanup and colour. Is this the last one? Update 6.
So for yourself, when you're animating, at what point do you basically hand it off and say, like, I need to work on the next scenes? This is good enough that someone else can work on it. What's your break point? Or do you sometimes just take things to like, almost like the full conclusion, just be like, right, just clean it up?
Well, the tighter the drawing, the better. This is quite nice, tight drawing for the rough, but we've obviously sent off much rougher than this, because of time constraints and everything to get cleaned up. But yeah, I mean, not much rougher than that. The tighter it is, the easier it is on the cleanup artist, and the less room there is for wonky errors.
So when you're editing a show, particularly like Sad.am, what things do you have to be mindful of when trying to adapt that style? Like, are there any particular things where it's like, oh, that was a particular quirk or foible of this animation, we've got to make sure we use it?
I'm not sure I understand like anything.
For example, with almost like stylistic things. Like there were certain things about the way the characters were drawn that you have to be mindful of. Like for instance, was it Sally's ears? Something about them being too pointy, or not pointy enough, or something along those lines.
Well, I look for general points of the spikes and ears to cut off the little spike at the end and just curve it over a bit. Like
the things I've noticed whenever I've been trying to draw in the Sad.am style, specifically with Sonic, like depending which angle he's drawn at, sometimes he almost has the full Sega Sonic style muzzle, but other times he has a very prominent like jutting out nose.
Yeah, it's because it's got kind of a strange, not really functional turnaround model sheet. He looks different in each pose. But yeah, on one of the drawings he's kind of like this, isn't he?
It's always fun hearing you say that, knowing full well I have to wait a full minute before I can see what you're drawing.
It's a bit like this, isn't he?
Yeah. I was just wondering, was there anything in particular while you were animating that you always have to be mindful of about the Sad.am style? Going like, oh, I have to make sure I do this and not accidentally do it the more traditional Sonic-y way and
I guess
stuff like that.
Mostly the movement. Don't be too stiff with the characters, and don't worry about getting them on model as much, but worry more about how much and how squishy they move.
This is a fun fact, because I was going to mention, since you're mentioning movement and whatnot, the Mina scene with her dancing, from what I understand, Keith, you danced in a mirror to get the movements down.
Yeah, I don't have any video recording of that, so no, you're not getting it, Patreon viewers.
Well, we don't need to. You've animated it. So if you want to know what Keith looks like when he's dancing, he looks like that.
No, I don't.
He's available for parties.
I do freestyle.
Well, just so we're not tied down, because I still have to talk to Larry about compositing. Are there any questions you guys in the audience would like to ask Keith about the animation pipeline?
I will interject this story that about trying to keep things in the style of Sad-Am. Sometimes Keith makes things too good. Keith, you're an amazing animator. And so at one point you drew Sonic like walking. I remember this. And you had that belly wiggle. You remember that?
Yeah.
Keith actually managed to make Sonic look like 3D. It was incredible. It's like his belly was wiggling back and forth. And it looked so good that it actually started looking like not Sonic Sad-Am. It started looking like a really modern, Treasure Planet? It was kind of like that, where it was like this 3D animated style. It was so good looking. We had to dial it back because it started to not look Sonic Sad-Am.
I'm not going to lie, that is one bit that did kind of throw me from the animated trailer. Not because it was bad, because it was almost too good. It's when you see Sonic walking over towards Sally and his quills are just lightly bouncing. Like, I don't think that was ever in the actual show, but it looks so good. But it harkens back to what you were saying earlier, Tim, with like, you make those small changes to kind of give it a bit of a modern twist, but you're not breaking anything. It's like you notice it going, ooh, that's a bit different, but it's not too in your face.
Oh, the problem with that bit, I drew the whole character walking traditionally and everything as a cycle, and I kind of copied and pasted the head, but I moved the nose and the quills and the ears and everything around it, and then the whole body and arms and feet were all completely new drawings and everything. But because of the end up with the perspective and everything in compositing, we decided to just zoom in on Sonic if we get him to walk. So it's mostly his head. So it feels like some cheap Flash animation thing with his head's completely still, just going into where Sally is.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah. It's like it's less a case that the character's actually walking, it's more like you just kind of slightly increased it, but kept the walk cycle the same. I know what you mean, yeah. Has that stiffness to it.
Yeah.
We've got a question here. We've got a couple of questions actually for you, Keith. From Chip Max, how do you do your line art? I'm assuming he means what programs do you use?
Well, I wanted to try Clip Studio for this stream, but because of when I'm much more comfortable in Animate, even though the drawing tool is hideous, as you can see, this is not very aesthetically pleasing.
Diabolical.
So yeah, I like to use a program that's good with nice. It's got good brushes and everything. So like Clip Studio, Photoshop, or whatever, Toon Boom, Harmony. But that costs a lot, so I haven't got the license at the moment.
I was going to say, out of all the programs you've worked with, do you have a particular preference? So there's one that you're like, oh, good, I get to use this.
It depends on the series.
All right, so it's a series-based thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's horses for courses. So I wouldn't work on an anime in Animate. Might do, maybe, but
it's weird because I mean, for myself, whenever obviously I'm more on the traditional side of illustration, but there are some programs I just dread having to use for certain tasks. For example, if I'm doing line art, I want to use Procreate every single time. Like, I hate trying to do my line art in Photoshop. But when it comes to like doing physical painting, I'm Photoshop all the way at the moment. Even though I keep trying to like you trying to gravitate towards Clip Studio.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Well, Animate's got the amazing thing about Animate. They got to hire me for something. Is that you can use puppet-based rigs nicely with it. Like it's not as complex as Toon Boom. Harmony, which has got an amazing rig-based feature. But this interesting thing about Animate is say you want to somehow do a new amazing crazy piece of camera angle with like a different style of animation, you can't use the rig and you can't break the rig very easily in Toon Boom. But in Animate, you can just say, well, sod it, yeah, I'll just redraw it here and adjust this, and it's much more versatile in that way, which is perfect for Whack-Fu we're on at the moment, where we use the puppets for a lot of the scenes, but then there's some crazy animation, lots of fight sequences going on, and obviously we can't use the puppets for all of that because of the extreme camera angles. There's like one scene where you got to use shape tweens on the whole face. Everything was a shape tween for the animation, and it worked perfectly. So yeah, horses for courses.
So when you're just doodling randomly, if you just fancy doing a bit of like, for example, Keith's working on a little thing for Sonic 2 HD. I'm not going to mention what. But when you do stuff like that, is there anything like to relax? Is there anything you particularly default towards?
Not for the guys or anything.
But since it is a personal project, is there anything you would like? You know, you're just gonna do some stuff for yourself. What do you default towards?
I guess Animate because I know it best, but I would use Clip Studio or TV Paint for. TV Paint Pro for nice bit of rough animation. Though you can't really use the camera so well in that program. It's very limited. But it's got it's got excellent brushes.
So there you go. You got a half answer there, mate. How does he do his line art with lots of different programs depending on the mood?
Yeah.
I got one from Bundaberg there. What's your earliest memories of drawing and animating Sonic stuff?
Drawing, I guess, little comics based on the Sonic the Comics. Or wow, asking my parents and other adult figures to help me draw Sonic the Hedgehog, and I was like, "What's Sonic? He's a hedgehog," and they draw a hedgehog, you know, like the clip art based hedgehog. I was like, "That's not what I want," and I throw a fit. Someone help me! How do you draw Sonic the Hedgehog? And you know, no one really knew how to draw. They say, "Well, you're the artist in the family. You figure it out."
Get you a How to Draw a Hedgehog book.
Yeah. I can fully render this masterful, realistic hedgehog in charcoal, but it doesn't look like Sonic.
I can answer that question from Captain Nabil7 myself. He asks, is there any 3D CGI background or effects in this like that of Treasure Planet? Not so much, no. There's 3D aided. For example, Robotnik's Command Chair. We actually commissioned a very talented 3D sculptor by the name of Rotalis, who was working on the Tails Adventure Armada fan game. We got him to do a 3D mock-up of the Robotnik's Command Chair so that we had a visual reference to work from that we could rotate around. But in terms of actually putting CG elements in the show, no, it's all done 2D.
Yeah, we got the cleanup artist to trace over the video footage.
Which, of course, you know, that's not in the original show. They didn't have that kind of technology in the original show. But we found that if you animate the characters all traditionally without 3D, but you just do the props in 3D, it actually seems to work pretty well.
Yeah. Well, they could have done something similar like that. I guess they could have made the chair out of a 3D sculpted clay and then taken photos or video footage of that and Xeroxed that off, animated on top. Could have worked. I mean, it's a lot of effort and everything and time wasted for this series, so they probably wouldn't.
And as Carlos mentioned in his section, when he does some particularly complicated background scenes, he might often just quickly do a 3D render in Blender and then use that as a basis for starting the paintings. Questions. Got some more here. Kapak Studios Gaming. any influence on our animation from the modern 2D Sonic game movies, such as Sonic Mania / Origins? I don't believe so, no, because they're predominantly going for that early 90s Sea3on look, rather than trying to modernize it in the way that Tyson Hess or, forgot the name now, Powerhouse Animation did. No. Not in that case, no.
I noticed when you started drawing Sonic, you started like with his mouth area. Whenever I draw him, I start with the eyes. Is there a reason why like you choose like the mouth first?
Oh, I don't know, because I'm an unprofessional and I probably should have drawn the line of action.
Boom.
Do you know, I remember you trying to explain it to me and it still hasn't stuck in my head. I keep trying to make it work and then be like, no, it isn't working, bugger it, no, I'm going to do something else.
Line of action. Sick. You gotta remember sick. Or sis.
I think that
or
people who are
sick,
artists, we just. do
I'm
it
sick of it,
different ways.
alright.
Or kiss. No, or ski. So. Curve, straight, S. Curve. Gumball. Straight line. Stick head on here. Follow straight line with hand. Back of the body. Leg. There. Lines of the strong, powerful poses.
Yeah, you should always start with the line of action. I'm guilty of that myself and not always starting with the line of action. You really should always start with the line of action. But yeah, as long as you're on model, it's, you know, you get tips and advice from the model sheets of how you draw the character and stuff. And, you know, that's a good place to start. But as long as you're on model, what works for you works for you.
Yeah. S shape.
More questions.
Head on here.
This is a more technical question for you, Keith. It's not actually related to Season 3, but I'll let you answer it anyway. Someone's asking about your work on WAC-Fu. When you construct a rig for characters, is it like nesting symbols or bone rigging?
No bone rigging, so just layers, and I try to keep it as simple as possible. Like the Illustrator files we got are quite complex, and we didn't want to make every single hair strand a symbol, so we get like the big head, and then I'd stick everything onto one layer. Keep it just simple as possible. But yeah, no bones. Because we want to be able to break the model.
Because the stream is now past the 1.5 hour point, I think it's going to quickly get to Larry one final time before we end things. So thank you very much, Mr. Keith.
Sorry for taking up all that time.
Oh. That's all right. Yeah, well, I did mention that you were probably going to be the meat of the whole thing because you're doing the bit that people want to watch. It must suck being the superstar. Anyway, back to Larry briefly, if I may. Larry is one of our compositors. Like I said earlier on in the stream, he's the one who stitches all the bits together to finalize what you guys eventually watch. So, Larry, when you go about compositing, do you just get like a jumbled mess of bits with loose instructions, or do you have an animatic to work from to give you an idea? Like, what kind of process do you have to go through when you're doing compositing work?
They give me a folder with all the characters and the scenes, like all those layers. They give me the background to work with, and then they have a folder that provides like the animatics, and then I also use the color script. So I use all that. First, I just put everything together. I layer all the characters in the right frame rate that they want for the show, and then I look at the animatics so that I know like how big the background is, like where exactly the characters are going to be positioned, like to a T on the background, and then how the background moves, like depending on the shot. And once I have all that like down, then I use the color script to start just like choosing the specific colors in there to change the colors of the characters, and then color correct the background to match the color script. And then other than that, there's just a lot of like other like tedious details, like making sure everything's like overlapping correctly, and the final touch that I just put a little bit of noise over the whole video to just make it feel a little bit more, tiny bit more textured.
So stuff like the some of the effects that are in the show, like say for instance smoke or dramatic lighting, are those bits you put in compositing, or are those bits also like done by a separate person?
In some shots, in most shots, the smoke is already like pre-animated, just like a character layer. So I just throw it in and change the colors to match the color script. On rare occasion, and for one important scene, the smoke wasn't quite pre-animated, so I kind of had to take some smoke layers and kind of do my own thing with it.
Do you also add in the music and the voice acting as well, or is that an editing thing done after?
Oh yeah, that has nothing to do with me. That would be in the editing.
So I wasn't sure if the editor and the compositor kind of like had their roles kind of meshed into each other, or if they were separate roles.
Yeah, completely separate.
Ah, right.
By the way, I work entirely in After Effects.
That was actually going to be the next question I was actually going to ask, what you actually used.
Yeah, After Effects. I know it very well. I do all my Photoshop in After Effects. In my mind, After Effects is Photoshop with a timeline. So I don't have any reason to like go back to Photoshop.
You know, you could do that in Photoshop, but then again, I mean, I'm using an older version. I've only just started using After Effects myself, but I do know what you mean with regards to like how the whole thing is laid and structured. Yes, it is. It's kind of similar, so I can definitely see how easily you'd be able to adapt to it. So is compositing a thing you do? You mentioned before you do editing more than you do voice acting. So is compositing like your profession, so to speak?
Yeah, for a living, I do editing and motion graphics. So, like, what I really want to do is directing, but I just do that on my personal time. Yeah, editing and motion graphics are how I survive.
So when it comes to compositing, are there any particular like annoying pitfalls you sometimes have to avoid? Like, for instance, because obviously I've never done compositing before in my life, so I just imagine it getting like a big bowl of pieces and then trying to stitch them all together. And I can only imagine like stuff like the camera work. Is that something that's pre-done, or is that something you have to add in, like the zoom outs and zoom ins and the tracking? Is that part of the compositing job, or is that also pre-animated, pre-done?
The camera work, I have to do it, like, but I use the animatic as a reference because they've already done it. So I just kind of look at that, and I'll sometimes like imitate it. In one particular shot, which was like that shot that you guys were showing where Sonic was like running away from like the SWAT bots, matching the frame rate and stuff in that camera motion just wasn't working for me manually, so I had to like bring in the animatic into After Effects, and then I motion tracked the camera movement of the background so that I could get that on point, and then that's when like it finally like started to come together.
With that particular scene, do you have to? Again, this is kind of a weird question to ask, because It's the technical side of things that I'm obviously trying to wrap my head around. Obviously, the Sonic's running towards the camera, so I imagine he's obviously the focal tracking point, so I imagine he stays pretty much the same. Did you then have to shrink the SWAT bots as they go into the distance, or again, was that a pre-animated done thing that you just, had to post in?
The SWAT bots were already pre-animated, like moving, so...
But did you have to shrink them and stuff?
No, not at all. Like, they were shrinking in the animation, so... that made it like extra tricky to make sure I can like move the background to make sure that like it was matching the pre-animated like characters shrinking and everything. That's why for that particular shot, I ended up just motion tracking like the background movements in the animatic because the animatic looks super smooth.
So do you guys have any further questions for Mr. Larry White, either for his voice acting or about compositing? Because I'll be honest,
speaking of that, there's a question here, Drag O. Hey, who's the voice of Sonic in this?
This
right
man.
Here, Larry White.
I saw someone ask who my favorite voice actor is for Sonic. I grew up with Jaleel White. I think he gives like the attitude and range that I expected from the character growing up in the 90s. But I really like Ben Schwartz too now. Like it's not quite as good as Jaleel, but like I definitely like his range and like his amount of like personality. I think I liked like Ryan and Roger growing up with the games, but now that I'm like older, I'm like I want a little bit more personality, especially now that they like I got Ben Schwartz in the movies.
That's the weird thing. I enjoy Roger's work, but the odd thing is after watching him in Boom, I can only imagine him as like that doesn't sound like teenage Sonic. That sounds like a 20-year-old Sonic to my mind. He sounds older than he should be. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
And to me, he feels like a little bit more of just like he feels more like a character as opposed to like a fully fleshed out person. And for me, like Jaleel White, like because of like all the range that he had, like to me, just that like it feels like more complete. I feel like I'm getting like I don't know, like a shallow version of Sonic with the game voices nowadays.
Someone asked the ultimate question. Can you give an example of your Sonic voice?
Oh man, like I said, because of like the way that it was all recorded, like what I naturally do is just kind of like a one note kind of thing. It was like the guys that really like micromanaged me to like get to like the like closer to like the Sonic cartoon voice. Like right now I'll give you like man, it's juice and jam time. But like I definitely lost the voice long ago. Like I don't remember like anything that I did with them like years ago when we recorded it.
Don't worry, they'll bully him back into it when they need him again. He's not escaped. Looks like it's as far as questions for yourself there, Larry.
All right.
I mean, I wish I could have asked more technical questions with regards to compositing, but like I said, I have such a limited understanding of how the whole thing works. It's like I'm struggling to think of what do I ask? The only thing I can ask is how.
How? What was great is like when they needed like a new compositor, I saw them like post it online like hiring for it, and then like I just messaged them like, "Hey guys, do you remember what I actually do for a living?"
Not gonna lie. Some of us were in the Discord were sat there going like, "Hang on, isn't that Sonic's voice actor? He can do compositing."
Yeah, we kind of were pretty much like that. It was definitely one of those like, "Oh right, Larry does video editing, right."
So when I remembered Breaker did editing, it's like, "Oh yeah, he's the dude who writes my stuff." Oh yeah, he does editing as well. We got another question there for you. What's it like to work on something this cherished from your childhood? This is the point where you reveal you were never a Sea3on fan. It's like, oh, whatever.
Sonic, I feel like if I had like Horcruxes, like it's like my soul like spread out in different parts. Like to me, like I've always seen myself in Sonic. I've drawn Sonic so much growing up. I feel like I've drawn him like tens of thousands of times, and loved the games growing up. Seeing like Sonic animated to my voice, and just the fact that some people like it, that I'm comparable at all to Jaleel White. It's great to see. I'm sure I'm gonna get like because of like the way the internet is, I'll have like a mix of people liking, a mix of people hating. I'm very used to that. But yeah, it's really cool seeing Sonic with me when I've always seen Sonic, or me in Sonic. Yeah, if that makes sense.
You literally are now, yeah. So there you go, guys. If you want to destroy Larry once and for all, you have to hunt down all the Sonic merch, the Sea3on Sonic merch, and destroy it. It's the only way. Just to answer this question from you, Cormac, that is a question I'll actually write down and put towards... I'm going to be interviewing Eric in a one-on-one to be able to add into what we're doing here. I'll actually put that question to him and ask him then, because that's definitely a question for the writers. Speaking of which, that's the crew we have available for you to talk to right now, guys. Obviously, Carlos and Megan have run off for the time being. So, if there's any additional questions you guys would like to fire off towards any of the guys we have here, go for it now. We'll take another 10 minutes and then end the stream there. Just to remind you guys, this is a kind of a nailing two birds with one stone thing. The plan is, once we're done with this stream, is we're also going to be interviewing Eric, the writer, Gloria, the voice of Bunny, as well as the storyboard artist. I'm also going to be interviewing Megan, because she is the social media manager. She's the one who keeps you lot all nice and sweet. And we're going to be compiling this stream edited along with those interviews to create sort of a mini making of featurette that will be shown on the Patreon. And I'm not sure later on if it's going to be released on YouTube or not. That's a decision for other people to make. But yeah, if you want to see the full-sized interview with everyone, then it's going to be available there. Wait for
Apex Studio Gaming. Main thing is having fun and loving what you're doing. You are absolutely right.
One from good old Groovy Jeff there. Keith, how do you get the shadows down so well with our reference?
Well, I don't really need reference for shadows. That's just a case of understanding the construction to the best of my abilities, for good, for better, for worse, and knowing where the light source is coming from. Source. Catch up. Which would be the fire that's underneath him to create a nice spooky thing. I've kept most of his face in shadow, because when you're doing shadows, it's nice to have big areas of shadow connected, rather than little bits here and there, for aesthetic reasons. So yeah, that was the main idea behind that. Could follow the construction, be clear, and aesthetically pleasing.
Oh, we got a question here from one of your big fans there. It's some sort of weird skeeve called Paul Scott who wants to know we're going to see pictures of you shirtless, Keith.
Never! I don't want to offend too many people's eyes.
This person sounds like a stalker. We should probably report them.
Yeah, block and ban.
Well, there's a comment here from Capac Studio Gaming. It's not a question, but again, I want to thank you all for your hard work in bringing something so near and dear to my heart back to life. You guys are doing amazing work. Keep doing it to it. Keep doing it to it. Cheers, Capac.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Will the making of featurette for this be in the style of a making of animated features from the 90s, from what I've seen with the page master? That'd be awesome, except I don't think we have the B-roll footage to be able to follow people around with a camera, so it'll probably mostly be this audio overlaid with Keith working on a scene or interlaced with some other bits of animation footage here and there, some rough bits that we've already shown off before. As much as we would love to make like a full-blown proper documentary, it's kind of difficult when you have people literally stretched across the planet.
Well, interestingly enough, there are talks of an actual documentary where, again, these are one of those things that we're working on and in talks with people on. So that is in the works with a camera and with things, and yeah.
I do have Hawaiian shirts.
Well, that was a staple of Disney making of documentaries, wasn't it?
Oh yes.
I still love the Lilo and Stitch one. I actually watched
do have
routinely.
Wow.
I actually have a Hawaiian shirt as well.
Perfect.
We can totally documentary this.
Man, I need to up my game. Right, BRB, going to Amazon to buy a Hawaiian shirt.
Yep.
When does the series launch? When it's ready, Nick. When it's ready.
And how many episodes of this are you thinking about doing? Asked Drago.
Ideally 12. If we get picked up, because it's kind of way too expensive to do 12 episodes on a fan budget.
Paul, this creep Paul again wants Buff Sonic from you, Keith. So there you go.
Okay.
Just ban that guy.
I know, right?
I thought we set him on fire.
Who, Buff Sonic or Paul?
Buff Sonic.
He's always on.
I thought I saw him like screaming into the distance, into the sunlight.
Sonic.
Was that before or after Robotnik came on the scene?
Probably after. We could use some more Buff Sonic though.
Okay.
Well, I guess I know what I guess I know what we're doing on the next stream then, Keith.
What do you mean next stream?
Oh no, he started to draw it. Look what you have wrought. This is everyone's fault except mine.
How is it my fault?
Who said it was yours? It was Paul's fault. You're cheap, remember?
Yeah, I know. I asked for it. I didn't just think he was actually going to draw it, but here we go.
Well, yeah.
Don't know.
I was going to say, don't put ideas like this in our heads, man. This is what happens.
That's what I'm good at, though.
That's done.
Yeah, so actually we are in talks with the documentary, if you guys are wondering about that. Obviously no release date, no nothing yet. We're just arranging possible travel and some other stuff. So that'll be a while out.
Will we be seeing Supersonic? Well, that'd be spoilers, wouldn't it? All I would say to you, Capac, is if you want to know what's going on with regards to the story, we do have a comic that's been running for quite a while now. So it's in its 8th chapter, so you can check out that if you want to. To drop a link for it here.
I have a hard
nice
time
shiny new
picturing
website.
in my mind what Supersonic in Sad AM looks like.
What is this? This is Buff Sonic. If you watched our earlier streams, it's kind of an inside joke, but yeah.
I've lost the stream. There we go.
Why? Because we can?
Yeah, because there's no one around to stop us, basically.
Exactly.
I was challenged by a certain Paul Scott. I've forgotten how his what do you look like? anyone know what Buff Sonic looks like?
You drew him.
Yeah.
You wrote that horrible creature into existence. Don't ask me how to draw it.
I didn't design.
Because he probably hasn't. I don't think Keith's drawn Buff Sonic in quite a while.
Just draw Powdered Toast Man and put hedgehog quills on him. Job's a good one.
Oh, Powdered Toast Man! I forgot about that show.
Oh well, whatever. It can look like this now.
Don't forget the back quill.
Oh.
Yeah, Keith gotta be on model.
How dare you not be on model? Rude.
I'm sorry. God, anatomy classes have gone. Well.
No, we're not doing Buff Uncle Chuck, Squirrely. How dare you?
There we go.
Chuck, honestly.
There. Buff Sonic.
You lucky people. There you go. That's Buff necks. That's just, I mean, considering what my avatar is, that's just like one of the American Mega Gulp Cops, really, isn't it?
Yes, it would be.
I don't know what next would look like. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway.
Anyways.
Well, there we go, darlings. We have now reached the almost 2-hour mark, so we're probably going to cut it out there.
Before we get you more insane.
Before we inflict more of this on you, yeah. So just a reminder, guys, follow us over on the Al Patreon, follow us over on Twitter for, constant updates. We usually do update quite frequently over on those two platforms. We do have a Discord if you want to come and hang out with like-minded weirdos and have a chat about the ongoing series as well as other bits and bobs. Yes, Arson, Buff Goth Snively, that's a good idea. We'll definitely put that one on the cards for next time. Streams are a bit sporadic. Normally we're supposed to be doing them once a month, but we've got so many people working professionally now that kind of hard to get everyone together. But yeah, do keep an eye on the old socials, keep an eye on the old Discord, and like I mentioned, we will be compiling this stream as well as other interviews into a mini featurette, which will also pop up either on YouTube or Patreon, depending on how evil we're feeling.
Yeah, you guys not on Discord. You should get there. Love talking to you guys on there.
Sometimes we even stream on the Discord.
Oh yeah, unannounced.
Yeah, this weirdo here who's been drawing Buff Sonic, he's been drawing other Sonic-related animated stuff on the Al Discord.
Shh, don't tell everyone.
Trying to lure them in.
I don't want them to know about my secret Buff Sonic streams.
No, that's for the OnlyFans account.
Oh, okay, wrong one.
Okay, guys, we better cut it out, so...
Yes, we're cutting it out there because someone just said Buff Rebecca. You're a wrong human being. Go and seek some help. That's disgraceful.
That's why we're done. We're done. Over. Stream cut.
Yeah, see you later, guys. Thanks very much for turning up. And thanks very much for being patient with us while we sorted out all the audio glitches.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, and sorry for the Buff Sonic.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ta-ra!
Bye.